Hello, Political Science 28 folks. We are going to run through what you have to do for the midterm. So I figured I'd just kind of start from zero and show you what we're looking at. We're looking at Part B today. So, just like my most recent email said, I am a little bit late posting this video, but I was kind of hoping that you'd be able to explore. So I sent you where you can find your city's census data. So what I'm going to do right now is actually go, and if you click that, you'll get this Google Drive. And I'm going to do my demo based on Chester. So I'm going to right click that or control click on a Mac and hit download. And I say download anyway, Google, I trust it. So those are I'm going to do the example. I did in class, I did the example based on Baltimore, but I'm going to do this example based on Chester. So I just downloaded that. Part B, it says, in this part of the assignment, open up QGIS, pull in a base map for your city, and find the redlining data outlined for where Black and minority residents lived and where deemed risky for government-insured home mortgages and loan worthiness. Create an attractive symbology that differentiates the district. So we've already done that a couple times. Hopefully you're all set there. Then once you've done that, we want to bring in our census data. So this is the data packet that I just downloaded. And this will be something that you should have had access to, obviously, since that first email. And then we're going to create another symbology that visualizes African American population. And you kind of have the option. You can either symbolize all the layers of this first part and that part on one map, or decide to symbol them separately on different base maps. And then finally, this is, of course, all due next week. A brief paragraph, 500 words is a cliff, right? It's not a target. Please discuss how systemic racial exclusions of blacks in your city's housing market may or may not be visually correlated to modern day de facto segregation. And then just to state it as an overall prompt, is this environmental condition, redlining, likely a chief culprit in the area's modern day racial residential segregation based on available geographic data? And it's okay. Your answer may be no, or not sure, or possibly. The point is for you to be able to look at the data, having visualized it, and discuss it. So that's the goal. We're going to just try to make the map today. So we've already done our download. I downloaded my blocks of Chester, and these are kind of this is my census data. So before I go any further, I want to make a new folder. So I'm going to make a folder, and I'm going to call this Midterm. And I'm going to say Chester, because I'm doing Chester this time. So in this Chester folder, I'm going to put my other files just so they're all in one place. Oops. And I'm going to close it so it lets me do that. So I'm going to put them all in one place. That's good. And so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go find my Hulk district map, or my district data, my district shapefile of Chester, and also put that in this Chester midterm. So let me go finish finding my data, and I'm hoping you can remember that to find that data, you need to type in redlining. You'll get this mapping inequality. If you Google redlining GIS data, you should come up with University of Richmond's mapping inequality interact map. So that's okay. I don't really care. I know what I'm looking for. And so now I could zoom in and look at it on the Slippy map here if I wanted to. That's what these are called. These are called Slippy maps. Or I can go to my data and download here and just scroll down. And I'm just going to go Control F and search, content search for Chester. Oh, Winchester. That's not helpful. Rochester. Manchester. All right, there we go. There's Chester. So I'm going to download the shapefile of these districts and click that. And it downloaded there. I'm also going to download this georectified image because I want to see, I think it might be interesting to see the scan of the actual original map as well in the GIS program. So I'm going to download that as well. Download georectified. And it's 62 megabytes, so it's a little bit bigger, but it's not that big. So while those are downloading, I'm going to open up my folder here, and then I'm going to place my redlining districts here, and then now my rectified image, I'm going to place that here, and I'm going to unzip these. And so when I select them and right click them, you can say extract all. And the default is that it's going to put it in the same folder, I believe. Let's just try. I'm going to delete that so it goes to just Midterm Chester and say extract. And there they go. So I was given the Chester blocks came out. It looks like we can only do one at a time. So I just did blocks Chester. Now I'm going to extract this one, extract all. And I'll do the same thing. Put it just in that Midterm Chester folder, extract. And there's that Cardo thing. So I'm going to, now I can delete that and I can delete that. I've got two shape files here. It looks like many, many files, but just remember that shape files are actually a bundle of files. So I'm in good shape there. And I want to extract this as well. So extract all. And then I'm going to put that there, extract. Okay. And it made a couple extra folders, but that's okay. I'm going to get rid of this folder. There's too many folders. So you have to do a little bit of file cleanup. That's okay. Okay. So there we go. We've got all the data we need, and now all we have to do is make our QGIS file. So go ahead and open up QGIS, and we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is create a base map, and then we're going to bring in our data and kind of take it all the way. All right. So if you open up yours, you probably don't have many past projects that you would be able to see. So you can kind of just leave those, you know, it'll just be blank. I'm going to hit new project so that it kind of makes the screen blank there. But the very, very first thing we want to do is we want to just save a project, even though we don't have anything yet in our project. I'm going to save it so that we have kind of a file that records what we're doing. So then I go to desktop in Midterm Chester. And in here, I'm going to write midterm_Chester, just the same. And that way, whatever I do in this file, I can come back and all of my decisions and symbologies will still be there. So the first thing I need to do is just add a base map. And I've been encouraging us to use this quick map service, QMS. If you don't remember how to find it, you can go find it in the Manage and Install Plugins. Search for Quick Map Services or QMS, and you should be able to find it. At this point, I'm going to trust that you can do that because I think I've showed you a few times. So search QMS. I'm going to encourage you also to try some of the Esri base maps. I think they are, these kind of gray ones are really easy on the eyes and good. So I'm going to add the light one just because I like that. But you're welcome to try other base maps. You know, if you can find something different that you like, go for it. Add Esri gray light. Add that in there. And then, of course, it shows me the whole world. So I need to use my mouse wheel to zoom into my city. And I happen to know where Chester is, so I should be fine. I think I know where Chester is, down here. Keith would know better than I would where to find it more quickly. There's Philadelphia right there. And I know that Chester is in this region right here, so I'm in the right area. And if I want to, I can hit save again right now. So if I reopened my file, it would open up to this exact extent and hit save. So, okay, so that's good. Now we can start doing the thematic cartography part of the project, which is showing multiple layers at once. And that's kind of the whole point of the exercise. So to find the data that we downloaded, I'm going to go up to my project home and kind of open the caret there. And I can resize my windows to see it better. But what I'm going to do first is actually pull in my my redlining districts, which is this Cardo DB database query. So if I drag that in like this, I can either bring it in here or I can bring it into the map canvas. It doesn't really matter. Drag and drop, and they come right in here. And this is actually an interesting case in point. I can see that there's not that many districts being shown here, even though I know that the city is bigger than that. So even though I have my districts as these kind of vector shapefiles, I'm also going to bring in the rectified image. assuming it lets me do that. Bring in that, there it goes. So the rectified image is the actual map as a raster. It's just like letting us drop it right in there. So now I can, if I want to see what the vector data represent, I can put those, drag that on top, and then I can see that, oh, okay, yep, each one of these vector files is kind of representing one of the districts here. You'll notice with Chester, what's interesting is that there's all of this hatching, and the hatching hasn't been included in any of the districts because in the original map, the crosshatch means industrial or commercial, and a single hatch means thinly settled. And so I think it's interesting because for this particular city, they've not even considered these to be living spaces, right? So perhaps that's kind of, that might be telling when we further examine this in the future. So I'm going to turn this off. This is a good reference layer, but I'm going to turn it off just so we can start to symbolize our map a little better. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is categorize, just like we did in that first lab. I'm going to categorize these by type. So if you remember, I can open up my attribute table and I can look at what data there are here. And it looks like there's an ID. So each zone has a name, A1, A2, A3, and there's a grade A, grade B, grade C, grade D. And so I want to categorize by grade so that all of the A's get one color, all of the B's get another color, all of the C's get another color. So I'm going to categorize by this grade, not the ID. The ID would give me a different color for every single one. So I can go double click or right click in open properties, and I go to my symbology and I want to say categorized. And I'm going to categorize based on the Hulk grade. And let's try, I'm going to just try, I want to do an outline, I think, instead. So I'm going to try outline, simple line. And I'm kind of going pretty fast here, but you can pause it and go back and check it out. But this simple line choice I'm making, I'm kind of hoping, let's just see if it works. Classify, yep. So when I chose that line instead of the fill, when I hit classify, it randomly assigned different colors to the outline. And the reason I want to do that is so that I can see below. I can see the population information below. So if I want to see what my decisions just made, I can hit apply, and then I can see the different colors. And I think that's pretty interesting. I'm going to experiment just a little bit to try to make them a little bit more meaningful. I think blue is okay for A, but I want to change, I think I want to go more of a green to red color scheme. So right now it's random colors. If I want the computer to do that for me, I can click this little arrow over here and kind of go explore. And I'm going to look at all the color ramps, see if I can find red, yellow, green. That seems promising. I'll try that. Hit apply. That's pretty good. I like that. I think that's pretty close. Except it's it's inverted. I have red as A, and so it's not quite what I want. So if I want to invert it where red is the lower color, what I can do is invert color ramp, and hit apply again. And now I see A, B, C, D, like that. One thing I'm going to explore as well is I want to see if there's a way to offset the line. And this is going to maybe make it go on the inside. I'm just going to try it. But before I try it, I'll show you the problem because it's probably not that clear. Right now, wherever the polygons, these are polygons, wherever they overlap each other, only one line is being symbolized, right? And here, orange is overlapping yellow. Same here, yellow is overlapping green. There's kind of a drawing order. And so it's kind of hard to see which belongs where. Like in this area, right? It's kind of hard to tell, is this area right here part of the A or B block? It's kind of difficult. It's hard to say. So to kind of fix that or come up with a better version of that, I want to try, and this is by going to the symbol in this simple line. Let's just see if we can make an offset. I think, I'm not sure, but I think that the offset, yep. So if I go plus on the offset, look up here. it's forcing it to go kind of on the inside. So I'm going to go on the offset. I'm going to go offset maybe 0.6, but I'm going to make it thicker as well. And let's just see what it does. I go okay, and then I hit apply. There we go. That's a little better. So I don't know if you can see, but now that they're offset, the actual line of the polygon is not being symbolized right where the line is. It's being offset to the inside so that we get to see all of the districts. So I think that looks pretty attractive. I think that's a good symbology. What I want to do now is I want to bring in my population data so I can see how that relates to this. Okay, so to bring in the population data, I go back to my browser and I'm going to look for blocks Chester. And I can just click and drag this in, and it's asking me what do I want to choose. And in general, these do matter, but you don't need to worry about them at this level. So we just say okay. Okay, and so what we've got is a default symbology, which means that all of these polygons are being symbolized the same. These are census blocks, which are the finest level of detail that the census has. And these census blocks are where you would report different amounts of population. But right now it's on top of everything, so I can toggle it on and off, and I can see that it's not being very helpful. So in my geovisualization process, I'm just deciding in my head, I think I want this to be below the districts so that I can see the districts, but above the base map and probably somewhat transparent after I choose how I'm going to symbolize population. So I'm just dragging it right now to go below the districts. Okay, I see the districts pop in there. And I'm pretty sure that I want them to be semi-transparent so that I can see the base map. So just by way of example, I'll just double click and go back into symbology, and I can just make the whole layer's opacity maybe 50%. And if I hit apply, you should see that it starts to get lighter and you can start to see the base map underneath. But I know that I don't want this to be a single symbol. I want it to be graduated and based on percent African American. So if I open up this attribute table to see what the data look like, I can see that there's a total pop column and a black pop column. And I want to divide black by total to get a percentage and multiply by, or black by total and then multiply by 100 to get the percentage points for every tract. So the easiest way to do that is in the symbology tab under graduated. And I'm going to say, instead of just doing raw count, right, we have to normalize. I'm going to say, let's take fields and values, black pop divided by total pop, and I'm double clicking these to get them the way I want them, times 100. And if I do that, this very small formula here will get me what I want. And I need to say classify, and then it will come up with some values. And it's showing up as pretty light because I've still got that, I've got, oh, not there. I don't know why. I do have an opacity setting. I'm going to get rid of this opacity setting and deal with it later. So I'm sorry it's a little confusing. But I think that's the reason that those looked soft. So I go back to graduated, and I'm going to, I should have left that the way it was. Black divided by total times 100. Say OK. And then classify. There, it's full value now. So now if I hit apply, you'll see some kind of dramatic looking things. But as you can remember, our classification scheme doesn't look super, right? It's kind of, it's everywhere from 30% to 100% is all getting a dark red. So we need to rethink our classification scheme. Okay. I think the easiest way to deal with this is let's do, go back to classes, and we're going to use, let's try equal interval. And that's pretty good. I want to do a couple more though. Let's just do, I don't know. Let's just see if we can see the data. Let's do 10 classes, and let's change the color scheme. Maybe we can use gray, or that one's not bad. Let's just see what that does. Apply. It's interesting. The colors are a little difficult to see. I like where it's going, but it's not there yet. I'm going to go back and try the gray color scheme. I've done this in a few different academic books. It's a tricky color to use, obviously, but because we're using color for the Hulk districts, I think black and white is not a bad strategy for the demographics. I do find it hard to read with these intermediary lines, so let's get rid of those just so that we can see the data more for what they are. So I want to keep this color scheme from white to black, and I'm going to go to my symbol, simple fill, and I'm going to get rid of the line, no pen. Say OK. The line disappears from all the symbols, and watch what happens when I hit apply. Apply. That's starting to communicate a little better. I could even shut off this because it's not relevant, perhaps. Apply. Now we get to see the surrounding area a lot better. And then now I can make it under layer rendering. Under this bottom tab here, I can make it semi-transparent. Hit apply. And that's starting to look more like a map. And it is interesting. This is one of those cases where it'll be interesting to hear what Keith has to say about the pattern. I mean, I think we'll make a map and I'll take it the rest of the way, but this is a good example of where there's not an obvious direct relationship between the score of these Hulk zones and where the percent African American are today. It may be such that there are different types of different rates of incarceration per block, or different types of arrest statistics for these different zones. But yeah, looking at the data like this doesn't necessarily tell me that they're directly related to the segregation side. If we were to look at this, though, what I was showing you before, I think it would be interesting to overlay and to see how this commercial district here, or this industrial district, this seems to be pretty heavily populated now, or at least more populated than it was at the time. And so that's also kind of being omitted. We don't have a shapefile that tells us that. We could make one, we could digitize one, but any one of these maps I think would be interesting to show. So I think we're going to shut off the rectified. We're going to show, maybe I'll use blue. I think blue might show up better. I'm kind of changing my mind here, but I'm going to use this blue scheme. That's kind of part of how this works. I know it might seem like, oh, he's just making it up as he goes, but that's how it works. If you're going to do good visualization, you have to try things, and what you try isn't always going to work. And so you have to try new things. And so that's kind of the way the game is played. I think blue reads a lot better, and it's also a little less, using the color black directly for, we've encountered this with a lot of dot density maps. When you use racial colors, it can be activating. So it's important to kind of be smart about that. I like the blue scheme. I think we're going to go with the blue because it doesn't interrupt with the green, and I think it kind of shows the relationship here. So that's the decision. I've made my final map, and of course if we zoom out we can see kind of the regional relationships as well, which is interesting. But what we want to do is now decide that we're going to put this in our policy paper, right? We want to make a final map for the whole thing. So I'm going to hit save because I've made a lot of decisions and I don't want to lose them. This 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to, we've kind of made every 10% gets a different color. We made decisions about how to symbolize these districts. So I'm going to hit save. I don't lose it. And now I want to make a new print layout. I want to put this on a piece of paper. So I'm going to call this letter and portrait, which means that it's going to be oriented just like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that's standing on its edge, standing upright, just like you'd write in a Microsoft Word. So letter, okay. The default is not that. So then I have to right click or control click, go to page properties, go find letter, make it portrait. And then now I want to add my whole map here. I'm going to add map like this. And I'm going to fill, I like to fill the page. You don't have to. But I fill the page. And just a reminder here, once you fill the page, that to change the scale, the easiest way is to have this tool here, just the selection tool, select your map, and then under item properties, you should see the scale. We're not going to go into scale that deeply this time, but what I'd like to do is to just remind you that the bigger the number, the more zoomed out, and the lower the number, the more zoomed in. We're at about 125,000, 124,000, and I want to zoom in. So I'm going to go to 100,000. And that's a little bit better, maybe even closer. Let's try 80,000. We're getting there. I still want it even closer though. So let's try, you know what a nice number is? This is going to drive some of you crazy. 63,360. Nah. That's pretty good. I actually want to go a little closer. So I'm going to go to 60,000. Let's just try it. Good. I think that looks nice on the page. It's descriptive. It's kind of a nice scale. If I want to see what it looks like one-to-one at the page level, I can go find my one-to-one zoom here, click it, and then it should, I'm going to grab also this hand so that when I move the layout around, I'm not going to adjust things and kind of mess them up. So that's starting to look pretty good. You know, at least it's discussion points. It's kind of, I think it's interesting. I can lock in, if I know that I want my map to stay that way, I can lock it in so I don't, if I have this tool and I click, it's not gonna, I'm not gonna accidentally move it. And so now the rest is all, you could just export it like this, right? But what we wanna do is we wanna try to come up with like a title, maybe a scale bar, maybe a legend. So let's just do a title and a legend. For the title, I'm going to actually put a title box because I think that'll look a little bit better. So down in the left here, I have add shape. I'm going to add a rectangle. And I'm going to go like this. And that's fine. Nothing to write home about. It's okay. I'm going to add a text box as well. And inside that text box, I'm going to write Hulk districts compared with racial, or with, I should be more explicit, with percent black census blocks. And it's not a glamorous title, but it is kind of what we're showing. And then if you want, you can always go to your font, pick something a little more zingy, make it a little bigger. It's a title. And, you know, it's starting to look a little bit more respectable here, like a good map. I tend to get rid of borders, but that's all just a style. It's up to you what you want to do. Same with the font. You can choose to you know, center align like that. Might make it look a little bit better. And then another thing you could do is we want to try to add a legend. Let's at least add a legend. So to add a legend, I'm going to go and find, where is my legend tool? Here it is, add legend. Now if I click this, it's going to come up with more stuff than I need. And I don't care. I'm just going to say, okay, just give me the default. And the default is showing me a lot of different things. And it's not far away from what I want, but it is still too much information. This right here is telling me that I have an image, right? I have that historical map is coming through and it's an image, just like a PNG or a JPEG, and it's showing me all the bands. So I know I want to remove that. The best way to deal with legends, I think, is to get rid of this auto update. so that if you go back to your map canvas and change things, it's not going to automatically change your legend. But once you hit this auto update, anything inside of here, it is all editable, but it's also it's all graphics now. It's not related to the data. So I hit uncheck that, and now I can start doing stuff in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this Esri gray light. Let's get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this PA Chester rectified, because that we're not even showing that. And now my legend is getting smaller. It's looking a little better. I want to change the name so that it doesn't look quite so computery with these lowercase kind of auto-generated things. I'm going to right-click. Actually, I don't think I have to right-click. I can just double-click. And then I'm going to say, instead of CartoDB query, I'll call this Hulk grade. And that's a little bit more descriptive. And now I go back. Hulk grade. This red is kind of a default enqueue, as if there was a null value if A, B, C, D. What if there is no grade? But in our case, everything has a grade, so we don't need that that null value. So I'm going to delete that. So that's looking pretty good. And I'm going to double click blocks Chester, and I'll just keep this simple. % black. I think that's fine. So now, I mean, this seems pretty good. I mean, some people like to actually add the word legend. I feel like it's kind of unnecessary because most people know a legend is a legend, but you'll find a lot of people ask for that. If I wanted to really kind of spruce it up a bit, I might, make this bold, try to give it a border, add some more features. I could add some physical labels that aren't showing up on the map. So I could show that this is a city of Chester. Could add a label right here. Okay, just say city of Chester, give that a more attractive font, perhaps. If you wanted, you could also draw a line. Maybe there was a point of interest that you, if you wanted to call out any of these individual Hulk gray zones, you could either label them in the map canvas. There's a labeling feature you can explore, or you could manually label points of interest or things like that. So I'm going to call that done. I'm going to lock it all in. And that's enough for me to have a nice discussion, perhaps as a companion to my policy paper. So now, if I want to be done completely, I can export it as a PDF. And I get a warning. And let's just try Hulk map Chester, Hulk and demographic map Chester. Save. And I'm just going to let it all be default, and let's just see what it makes. And if it doesn't work, we can try something else. But let's just go back and we'll see if it worked. So now I open it up, and it looks like it did a good job. There's my final map. And what's cool is that hopefully you've kind of learned that now you can make any map you want kind of by yourself without needing someone to do it for you. So I hope that was informative. Let me know if you need any extra help. I'll be very happy to help. And remember to hit save, because all that work we did in the layout is all, if you hit save, then you can get back to it at any time. All right. Thank you.